preview as your Green Bay Packers travel to Pittsburgh in search of their first victory in Pittsburgh since 1970. That's been a long time. I even had to quiz my dad about it here this week, as him being a diehard Packers fan, to see if he could name some of the remaining Lombardi players that were in that 1970 games, which I will give him credit. He was able to name players like Willie Wood and Bob Jeter and Ray Nitschke and Bart Starr at the end of his career there for the Packers, not as a coach, but as a player. So wanted to give some major kudos to my dad there. And as you're seeing for this game preview, we're coming to you live from Green Bay, Wisconsin at the Titletown Flats, right across the street from Lambeau Field. Not doing a walk and talk from Lambeau today, as it's about 40 degrees out. The flag that I'm taking a look at Lambeau is definitely pointing straight out. So it's probably about 12, 15 mile an hour winds. And we're going to keep this one indoors, but at least the walk and talk aspect of it alive. So that said, hey, let's go ahead and open up the tab of this game preview against probably one of the best coached teams in the NFL, and Mike Tomlin. If you remember, faced against him in the Super Bowl, he's still under helm there in Pittsburgh. This team, I don't think, has ever had a losing record underneath them. They're 5-3 under Tomlin this year, and they're not really all that great. They're actually pretty similar to this Packers team. And Jordan Love with these really slow starts. They got a bend but don't break defense. And then Kenny Pickens comes alive in the fourth quarter looking like Tom Brady with either these comeback wins or holding on to the victory. But pretty impressive nonetheless, and should make for a very close ball game and potentially coming down to the wire there in Pittsburgh. I keep wanting to call it Heinz Field, but it's called something else that I'll probably butcher the name. But anyways, one second here. I figured the best place for us to start, and we'll go over the injury report for this week, who starters are going to be, and some predictions for the game. But starting on Packers' offensive side of the ball, injuries first, because I think this makes a big difference in this game, is Josh Nijman was back practicing for the Packers this week. Really great sign, because we are going up against another phenomenal pass rusher, him and Myles Garrett, maybe even number one. We're talking about TJ Watt, the guy that we should have drafted back in 2017 in Ted Thompson's last draft. RIP, the late, great Ted. He had the opportunity to take TJ Watt, but he went with Kevin King instead, as we all know, because we came off that really demoralizing NFC Championship loss against the Falcons. We got boat race with Ladarius Gunner and Demarius Randall, so we wanted to shore up that cornerback position. And it's tough because we missed out on Defensive Player of the Year. He has 3 first-team All-Pros. He's probably better than his brother, J.J. Watt, as hard as that is to say. And he already is the Pittsburgh all-time leading sacker, and he's only been around since 2017. Think about how storied of a franchise they have. And we got to find an answer for him here on Sunday. This is a lot like facing Max Crosby, who, ironically enough, they are tied for that number 2 spot when it comes to sacks in the NFL. I want to say they have like 9.5. And you think back to that Las Vegas Raiders game against Max and how ESPN kept showing his face left and right, and I saw him later in my nightmares. I think we had the right approach with it. We just failed. So Josh Nijman, I think he'll have a much more respectable performance in slowing down and trying to contain TJ Watt. And then also, we're now a few more games into it with our rookie tight ends and Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft. And Tucker's been getting a lot more snaps. And I think he's slowly starting to come on, and he's developing as a true tight end in the NFL in his blocking skill set. So I know there was some whiffs between those two against Max Crosby. I think now with some more games underneath their belt, and you saw how well the rookie class did against the Rams last week, that they'll be much better prepared to help take him out. And then also, we're going to rely on A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones to maybe throw a shoulder in there here or there against TJ Watt. And as far as the rest of the Steelers defense, they're in the bottom 20 when it comes to not only against the pass, but against the rush. So there's going to be some opportunities for Jordan Love and this offense to maybe get off to another faster start like they did against the Rams in a first down on their first drive, which I think is so imperative. So LaFleur can be able to get into his playbook, getting into that bag of tricks and showing those sort of trick plays that he had, that Luke Musgrave touchdown catch, and then also that Jaden Reed end around. So some things to keep an eye out there. And then for the Packers offense itself, we got to find ways to get Dontavian Wicks the ball much more. There was a stat that came out earlier this week talking about how he had 15 routes ran and 4 receptions off that. It's a pretty crazy ratio when you think about it. And all 4 of those catches were first downs. And I watched QB School this week with JT O'Sullivan, and he talked about how Love has flashes. He looks like a real-time quarterback when he's in rhythm and on time. And when both those two things are there, he has really great anticipation. And funny enough, when he's talking about those plays, that a lot of those are going to Dontavian Wicks. For some reason, him and Love seem to be in sync and in time on a lot of those pass plays between those two. So I'd look for Dontavian Wicks to be able to build off of his performance. Also, Christian Watson had his first big catch down the field last week against the Rams. So that could be a bit of a stepping stone for him to get much more involved in the offense. He checked out with his injury, so he's fine. No concussion there. And the Pittsburgh Steelers do have Pat P back there starting at cornerback. And if you remember week 1 against the Vikings, it was Pat P who Christian Watson blew past and dropped that surefire touchdown week 1. So, hey, maybe LaFleur wants to have a bit of a redemption shot with Christian, and we go towards that way early and think about if we started off the game with a nice tutty. And I'd imagine there's going to be quite a bit of Packer fans in the stands there as well. So besides that, when it comes to this Packers offense, mentioned that the Steelers defense is bottom 20s when it comes to the run game. I think we got to commit to that, just like we did against the Rams. Get those early rundown success with A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. A.J.'s been playing some better ball here these last 4 weeks. Same thing with Aaron Jones as well. Got 20 touches, improved that Packers record to like 28-6 when he gets over 15 attempts in the run game. And while we did dog Josh Myers a lot last week, he actually looked pretty good against the Rams when you go back and watch the tape. Some really good stretch blocking, getting to the second level, taking care of the linebacker. So I think that he picked up his play last week. Great to have Yash back in there. Zach's been holding down the fort at right tackle. Maybe some more Sean Ryan if Jay has some more sort of follies on the Love tush push. There was another name, but they were calling it the Love shove, I think it is, on those short yardage situations. And yeah, I think that pretty much recaps on the offensive side of the ball. And then when it comes to defense, it's important to start with who's playing, who's not, because this really determines sort of, I think, the outcome of the game. So unfortunately, it's looking like Ja Money not only still dealing with that banged up back, and that's making a pretty big impact on his play and not being the true all-pro, but now he has a shoulder injury that he's dealing with as well. I was going to say if he's playing in this game, it was against the Steelers a couple seasons ago that he tried taking down Najee Harris. He still got the tackle, but that's when he I want to say it was a shoulder injury that he went out the rest of the year with, came back in the playoffs against the 49ers. And maybe he gets a little bit of redemption himself against Najee Harris, but it's looking like Ja Money is going to be out on Sunday. So that means you have the Ballantyne and Valentine brothers as your starting cornerbacks, 2 very inexperienced players. One's a rookie, one I want to say is a second-year guy. And while Valentine did have a phenomenal game against the Rams last week, Kenny Pickett is a much better quarterback than Brett Rippon. So while Kenny only has, I think, 6 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, he's going to be going after those guys early and often and targeting both of them. I mean, it's kind of take your pick between those two. And I'd say the best way for Joe Barry to be able to prepare for that, which it's a lot for him to be able to handle. Is got to find some ways to get after the pass rusher. While a lot of people are coming after Joe Barry and giving him a ton of flack, his numbers actually look pretty darn respectable. The Packers are top 10 in a number of different categories, including in pass defense, scoring defense, red zone, points allowed as well. It is the Packers' run defense that's ranked like 23rd in the league. So Joe Barry, the numbers are looking great. Maybe Brian Gutekunst let go of Rasul Douglas as a way to be able to get him out the door because it makes Joe Barry's job much more difficult. So, yeah, he has his work cut out for him. I'd imagine for the Packers to probably try to get creative in ways to get after Kenny and not give Carrington and Corey so much time that they have to cover there in the secondary. And if you take a look at it, the Packers, I want to say, are like 21st in terms of sacks this season. So we got to find a way of getting home much more. Sean Gary signed his big contract extension, and he hasn't had a sack in the last 3 games. I expect that to change on Sunday. I know he's been close to getting to the quarterback. And then some other players that we need to step up as well to get some more sacks or at least some more pressures is Luke Spiness. I know he had a couple of nice pass rushes against Brett Rippon last week, but we need more out of him. And same thing with J.J. Enagbare. You go back and watch the tape, he blew up a running back and made this sort of nice jiu-jitsu move against him as well. But we need him to show up much more on Sunday. And as Devin Hine is saying here, don't forget about Robert Rochelle. Yes, the Packers' new cornerback wearing number 22. And this is Hine's new guy here as well. And, yeah, he's going to be probably called up when it comes to those dime situations as well. So, Robert Rochelle, have your nice introduction to the Packers fan base. And then, Hine, I know you'll like this as well. Isaiah McStuffy, as we are calling him and going to continue, he played really well against the Rams. When you go back and watch the tape, LaFleur had a lot of great things to say about him. Same thing with Joe Barry as well this week. There was a couple times that he shot the gap, kind of like came out like a missile, and had some tackles for losses in the backfield against the Rams. And he's likely going to be that starting linebacker next to Dre again this Sunday. And we're going to need him to step up because we have kind of a two-headed monster in a way. You got Najee Harris for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I think he's had a little bit of an underwhelming career after being drafted, I think, like the first round. And then the Pittsburgh other running back, who reminds me of another 30 that used to wear that number, James Conner. Can't remember what his name is, but he's number 3 for the Steelers when it comes to receiving yards. He gets a ton of catches out of the backfield, and Isaiah McStuffy and Devondre Campbell are going to need to be all over him in this game on Sunday. It looks like he belongs in prison when he sees someone in the open. Yeah, with all them tats too. And Isaiah McStuffy, Jaylen Warren, that is his name. Pittsburgh Steelers running back. He does. I mean, he's got a similar type of build as James Conner did for the Steelers there too. So finding ways, because Kenny Pickens is like Jordan Love, like brought up at the top of the show. He does not start off well. He's really kind of like a fourth quarter quarterback. So if we can find ways to be able to get in his face and make it difficult on him and not have all day back there to sit like Kirk Cousins did a couple weeks ago, then I think we're going to be in a good spot. And then for other like injuries, I expect Rudy Ford to be back in this game for the Packers. I know he came back to practice this week, so I'm sorry, Ant, as they call him, Anthony Johnson Jr. Maybe back to the sidelines for you for now, but I think there could be something to this kid, to this rookie. He had 2 big plays against the Rams. He had, obviously, his first career interceptions. He also blew up another play as well there in the pass game. And I think he has kind of a knack for being around the ball as well. But, yeah, we'll have Rudy back, Jonathan Owens back there. Darnell should be coming back, I want to say, next week. And, yeah, it's just going to be a tough position there for our cornerbacks. And that's really it there as far as the offense and the defensive side of the ball. I'll at least mention one thing about teams. It was so positive and reassuring to see K9 get his first real nice long kick return for the season at 51 yards. So, hey, maybe just like last year, it took about until the halfway point before things start to came together. And we had some success with the return game. So it could be something to build off of there. And as far as score predictions, which Hein, I want to hear yours as well. So it's been since 1970. We've got to win at Pittsburgh. It did remind me of that 2009 game that we should have won. I went back and watched the highlights this morning of it, and we were up 36-30. I don't even think there was one punt in that game. It was a scoring fest and just basically a shootout between Big Ben and Aaron Rodgers. But we were up 36-30 with like 2 minutes left, and then Big Ben had one of his patented 2-minute drive comebacks against the Packers in a touchdown with as the time expired to win that game. That was like a Jermichael Finley coming out party. I remember a touchdown by him and like Greg Jennings touchdown. It's such just a back and forth affair. I do not see this one shaking out quite like that, but I will go ahead and predict a 19-16 Steelers win against the Packers. I think with Jair being out in this game, it's going to be too much to overcome along with TJ Watt. Those are really the two players right there. If Ja's playing, I think we can come out with a win. But then TJ Watt's still gonna do his thing against us, and just more of the same growing pains that we've experienced. Oh, and we're seeing Devin Hein is going with the 17-13 Packers win. Low scoring, ugly game. I'm right there with you. I said 19-16. Both these teams struggle mightily in the first half. They could lose some viewership there in the second. Let's hope that Fox or CBS, whoever has the game, doesn't cut it to another one because it's that sloppy of an affair. But I think the weather's supposed to be like 50 degrees. Anyways, that's going to do it here from Titletown Flats. On the treadmill, I know we got someone else working out here, so they're probably trying to concentrate on that. But anyways, we'll be coming back to you on Sunday, live from Green Bay, maybe even a watch party. We'll see. And, yeah, take care and happy Friday. Enjoy the